I hit record now.
Okay, record it is.
And welcome uh, to all of you who've shown up, and I'm sure there will be more for a morning talk by Irwin Luck, who very briefly I'm gonna tell you what he's told me about his life, and then it was so interesting. And I know he's open to questions too, so you know, indicate if you have questions. Is that right, Irwin? Yeah,
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, raise your hands.
You can interrupt me anytime you like and ask a question. That's fine.
Okay, here goes. Irwin Luck met Meher Baba in 1960. He uh, he read Listen, Humanity, and what was the other one, Irwin, that inspired you?
Well,
God's
Listen, Humanity was by Don Stevens. That was the first book that I read and which I came to know really about who Mayor Baba is. My brother Edward, in the meantime, well, I should say prior to that, had also found this book in the New York Public Library. He was pursuing an acting career, but he saw this book on the shelf, Listen, Humanity. And he told me later, he said, how, what is it that he has written an entire book, wants all humanity to listen to? So he picked it off the shelf to see what it was that he was writing that the whole humanity should listen to. And, uh, and he was very impressed by the things that about Baba, what was written by Don Stevens in there. So he calls me up. I'm in Miami. He's in New York. And he calls me up and he tells me that there's this book that he read about this man who claims to be God in human form, and he's a master. And would I should read this. Anyhow, to make a very long story, and it is a very long story, short as they say. So I'm going to shorten the thing to the time when I actually read the book. And then I decided, now I've got to see this Mayor Baba. He seems to live a life that nobody in the world lives and does things with such love and compassion for humanity, while at the same time claiming to be God in human form, where he's now in the heart and minds of all beings. You see, the God conscious state is not the same as the human state. The human state, we see ourselves as separate from everyone. But in the God state, you see yourself as one with everyone. Now, that's a big difference. You can't even imagine it, what it's like to be behind the bodies and the minds of all beings everywhere. I mean, how can anyone even imagine such a thing? And we're not just talking about this earth plane. We're talking about the gross plane, the subtle planes, the mental planes. We're talking about the universe. He's behind everything. So it's impossible to imagine this for yourself. That is, if you were to say, oh, yes, I'm one with everything. But this is just the same, the destiny that each person has to find this conscious state within themselves. The God state is in you. It's not someone else. It's in you. And and we have to arrive at that. So the only way that it can be arrived at is from someone who's already there. You can't go to somebody that's not there. You have to go to somebody that is there. And the avatar has a mission. His mission is to awaken this consciousness in each of us. That's his mission. He wants to make others like himself. There is no difference. He also pointed out that there's only one self in the that exists. Now, who would ever think there's only one self? We see so many people, so many animals and all creatures, and each one has their own self. Now he's saying that behind the bodies and the minds of all these creatures and beings, including human beings, there is only one self. We give a label to that self and call it God, or we can call it universal consciousness. We can call it by any one of a number of names that as human beings we speak languages, so we give a sound to it, some language, God or whatever. But the point is that it's in each of us. You see, this is the point. It's latent. It has to be brought out. It has to be awakened. And he comes as the awakener. That's what Baba has said. He is the awakener. He awakens that consciousness of your being everywhere in everything, whereas otherwise you wouldn't have that awareness. And you see yourself as separate from everything and everyone. You know, that's how we see things at our level. Anyhow, when I heard all of this and I'm reading this and I'm understanding it, and he says that he's the highest of the high. In the book, there's a big message about him saying that who he is. And he says, I am the highest of the high. I am everywhere in everything. I know everything. I am beyond the mind itself. The mind is limits you from experiencing your true self. So he has to get rid of the mind. Who would ever think of getting rid of my mind? It's the only thing I got, you know, that I can experience anything with, and he wants to get rid of it. Well, by getting rid of it, he does not get rid of your consciousness. And there's the big deal. That's the difference. Your consciousness is what counts, what you are conscious of. And in the human body, we are conscious of our five senses. And through these five senses of the sound, touch, sight, it limits us. We're very limited. Nobody knows everything, and that's why you have scientists trying to find out about everything that they can. But the thing is, the consciousness is not limited. But what it perceives is limited. What it sees is limited. And so we don't know everything. You know, you don't know what the next thing will happen to you even. So all of this is there. But in the avataric consciousness, that's not the way it is. And that's why Baba has to come into the world to reveal, to enlighten us, to know ourselves as being what we really are. We don't see what we really are. We look in the mirror and we see a person standing there, a human body. But the human body is very perishable, as so many people in human bodies will testify to. You're very perishable. Things go wrong. But it is a very important instrument just the same to learn for learning. And you live a life and you learn in that life. The best teacher was always your personal experience of whatever happens to you. And you learn from that. But to experience Baba, he has to wipe out whatever stands in the way. That's his job. Even the avatar has a job. He doesn't get paid for it, but he has a job, you know, and it's a big job. And if you're going to try and enlighten an entire world of what is there, 6.5 billion people living today, try that one out. Try enlightening 6.5 billion people and see what happens if you're in a state of limitation, which we are. So, but he's not in that state of limitation, and he has the capabilities and the power, the knowledge, the experience of the bliss of all existence to be able to do the job. He's well equipped. You got to be equipped for this. If you want to enlighten 6.5 billion people, you better know what you're doing and be equipped for it. Anyhow, I wanted to see him. It all comes down to that. I wanted to see him because I liked everything he said. I liked the feeling of love that he was constantly giving out to everybody as a human being. He was a perfect human being. He was just you could just be with him. He was the friendliest person. When I was with him, he was the most friendly person. He actually liked me. And I liked him. You know, we both liked each other. So he was there to help me to realize the real thing. But he was also very understanding of the things that people in our state, we got to make a living. We've got to have a roof over our head. We got to take care of our family. We've got to be able to have a certain degree of health and wealth if we're going to function in this world. And he was very understanding of all that, and he helped people with that as well. One of the things that I think many people may not know about what Baba did is that he would supplement the incomes, oftentimes of people that were very poor. In other words, they weren't making enough in their jobs. These were not beggars. These were people that had families and they were trying to just make ends meet. And they were unable to do so, and many of those people he would help financially, actually, just because he says he didn't come for that purpose, but that is one of the things that he would do just the same, to assist people. People would pray to him. Well, he's in the mental world. He's not like now. You can't visit him physically, but you can experience his conscious. You can experience him through your mind, and you can see the pictures and the movies and all the other things. But you see, he's in the mental world. It's not limited like in the physical world. In the physical world, you cannot communicate with somebody unless they're present with you in the room, or like we're doing. They have a technology to be able to talk to people, and they can talk to you on the video. But that's not the way it is in the mental world. It has different rules. It functions in different ways, and anything that you are thinking or feeling, he's perfectly in tune with, because he said that the mind of all beings are in his universal mind. When this man came and wanted to know, he was able to know the thoughts of others. He's an unusual person. He could enter into your thoughts and know your thoughts. He could do that on a single basis. But then when he was with Baba, he came to see him and he was stunned. He says, I'm trying to see your thoughts and there's nothing there. It's a total blank. How can that be? You got to have a mind, you got to think. So Baba said to him, Baba sort of chuckled a little bit when he heard this. He said, I don't use the individual mind like you. I use the universal mind, which contains the minds of all beings and things. So anyone that thinks anything, I can respond to them if they focus on me and they want to know something, or they have to have some help. So they focus on me and I can help them. But he said, when you come up to the necessary mental level and you come up to my level, then you'll know my thoughts. That's the way he explained it. Very simple. A simple explanation, which is way beyond us. Anyhow.
Irwin, can you
Yeah.
tell us, you made a decision, you had to go and see Baba. Then what? How do you proceed with that in 1960?
Well, it was not so simple for me because I didn't have the money to make the trip to go there. And Baba was on the other side of the world, only half a world away. He couldn't have gotten any further. Anyhow, I thought at first I would work my way across on a boat, on a ship. But I was not able to get any ship that would take me, and everything was pretty locked up with unions. Anyhow, I couldn't go that way. And so time was passing. And one day a letter comes from Mani, Baba's sister Mani, it was a circular letter to all the Westerners. And it said that Baba would be entering seclusion soon for 6 months. And during that period, he would not be receiving any visitors or any communication, but you could, in emergency, send a telegram. That was the only thing that you could do. But then I thought, oh boy, if Baba doesn't want to see people for another 6 months, and now it's already been 6 months since I wanted to go, I became desperate. What am I going to do? I got to do something. There's something that's got to be done here if I'm ever going to get there. So suddenly a thought comes. You see, that's what happens. When you get desperate, sometimes a thought will come. Just the right thought, too. Not a thought that don't work, but a thought that works. Like my Judy says, the best plan is the one that works. Anyhow, this thought is that I should write to Baba and I should tell him my predicament and let him decide how it's going to be. So I write this letter, dear Baba, I want very much to have the benefit of your love, your direction, your guidance, but the only thing that's preventing me from coming to see you is that I don't have all the money to make this trip, and I don't see where money should stand in the way of such an ideal. But I know if it is your will, I'd be able to come, providing it's your wish. And then I left it at that, you see, because now I was really taking him for who he says he is, not just that I wanted to go visit somebody. Well, right away, a letter comes back. Boy, it came back so quick. Don't worry, circumstances will adjust themselves. That was his reply. Love, Meher Baba. Don't worry, circumstances will adjust themselves. Well, I was happy to get that, I said, oh boy, I wonder what's going to happen. Well, within 2 weeks, just to tell you this, within 2 weeks, I was there. I had circumstances, just like he said, the things that wouldn't work out, worked out. And now I was able to go, you see. I was able to go. It's really nice when no becomes yes, you see, in your life. If no can become yes, then things really are very nice and very easy, and things work out. But if it stays no, then it don't, and then you have a problem. Well, anyhow, that's a whole story also as to how and what happened. But I'm going to skip over that and just tell you that when I got there, then Baba asked me, one of the first things he said, well, first as soon as I came into the room where he was, he embraced me and he kissed me on my cheeks and he had me sit down next to him. And he asked me how my trip was. And he was very friendly and very loving. And he said, how did you come? So I said, Baba, I was able to come because it was your will. As soon as I said that, he motioned like that, just to stand up and to tell the others in the room. There was about 15 or so people in the room that were his close ones, because it was in the morning. And then I stood up and I said, I'm here because it is Meher Baba's wish for me to be here. And that's how I was able to come, because somebody wanted to know how I had gotten the money to go, and he raised his hand about that. And then, but Baba stopped him and he said, this is how he came. It was his wish. Well, that's how I got to be with Baba. And I was only supposed to stay for 1 hour because Baba had previously written to me. And when I first heard about him, I wrote to him and told him that I was planning to go. And he said, you can come for 1 hour only. And then after 1 hour, you return back with whatever instruction I give you. So Baba, then now I'm there. So Baba asked me how long I was to be there. And so I said, Bobby, you said that I can come for an hour. And he looks at see, Baba didn't wear a watch, but he went by his wrist like that, like what is the time? So Erich or whoever was there says the time. And Baba says, how can that be? It's already 2 or 3 hours. and you say, I said an hour, now it's already 2 or 3 hours. How is that possible? So he points to somebody in the room to tell him that. And the person says, I don't know. And then somebody else says the same thing, that they don't know and they don't know and they don't know. And after the humor of it sort of dies down, then Baba says, all right, I want you to come every morning at 7:30. You'll be here. Miraji will pick you up. He'll take you and bring you here, and then he'll bring you back to your hotel for lunch, and then bring you back again until I dismiss everyone. So now my stay became an indefinite stay. From a 1 hour stay, it became indefinite. And I already knew, and I felt this before I even, before Baba said all of that, that I would want to be there with him. Now I really wanted to be there with him. And he was very accommodating, he just changed everything. And I knew that he changes things as he's changing things. From the books that I read, Baba never would stick to anything. He would always go by what was the circumstance of the moment. And he would change things even if he said something else. So he did that, and now I was there, and my stay actually lasted for 2 weeks. I was there from 1 hour, it went to 2 weeks. And wherever Baba went, he would take me with him, and he'd tell me to be close to him, to stay close. So I'd be riding with him in the car, and there'd be a whole string of cars behind following, because they too wanted to be as close to Baba as they could. But, they were in their cars. But I was sitting with Baba in the car. And one day he went to he was invited to come to this orphanage. And they had all these little children there. And Baba said that he would go. And he went there, and he would embrace each of the kids. And then he would embrace the teachers too. And everybody had a chance to Baba was very open. He was not a person that was hard to meet or come to while he was in the body. When he's not in the body, like now, and people want to meet him, well, they can't do it the same way, but they can do it through the mental world. Everybody has a mind. You can focus on him, and whatever your needs may be, he can respond to that. And if you want God realization, well, he'll respond to that too. Everything is possible. That's with Baba, there was no limits. You could ask him for whatever it is that your needs were. And he was very compassionate and very loving and very friendly. He was a friendly God, a very friendly one. And when he came down to our level, he was really on our level. Well, you talk to him and whatever you want, whatever he thinks that you should have, whatever he wants to do, it was done. You see, there were, even when you were with him, many, your worries about your home and family and other things, that livelihood or whatever you're worried about, you wouldn't worry in his company. It was like it was all washed away. That was not important. Being with him was important. And he made you understand that that's what was important. You had to be with him. Now, you can be with him in your heart and mind. You can be with him physically, if he's physically around, whatever. And people that are concerned that they didn't get to meet Baba because they wanted to meet in his physical form, should not have to worry, because there's always another advent. And who's going to be there? Who do you think is going to be there? It's going to be the people who want to be there. You'll get what you want. And in the world of love, that's always been the case. You always get what you love, however it is, whatever it is. It just takes some time. But when the time is right, you're there and he's there and everybody is together. See, that's how it works. If anybody has any questions, they can ask me. Wow, it's not a question in sight.
Oh, Ruthie has a question. Ruthie?
Good morning, Che Baba Irwin. It's so good you're here.
Morning.
Thank you. Morning. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your father's relationship with Mayor Baba.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he started by not wanting a relationship. He didn't want me to have a relationship. He didn't want anybody to have a relationship with Mayor Baba. That was how it started. So how does Baba deal with these people that are antagonistic or they don't believe in it or whatever whatever their thoughts may be. So Baba is used to this. He's not called the Ancient One for nothing. He's been around a long time and he knows his customers, you see, and how they're going to come to hear about him and what they're going to think about him. This is an old story for him. So my dad started off by writing to Baba how terrible Baba was to want to take the love away from the family by Edward and me, because we were wanting to go see Baba, and he didn't like for us to go see Baba because he thought it was just Baba's way of getting a grip on our feelings and keeping us with him and not with the family anymore. So he was all upset about this, and my dad was a man of action. Being upset was never enough. He wanted to do something about it too. So, but first he wrote to Baba and told him that he should not allow us to come because we were not worthy anyhow to come. He called us every name in his letters, and he said that we were thieves and we would steal, and we didn't, and he couldn't believe a word we would say. I mean, he was really laying it on thick. So he sent this letter off to Baba. So I didn't really care because I knew that Baba knew, he would know what's right. Baba was not limited like us. He could know what's really going on. So Baba answers him, and answers him really in a way that my father hardly expected, because Baba answers him and says, "Mr. Luck, I'm very happy to receive your concerns and your deep love for your family. This made Baba very happy to hear this here. And now Baba wants you to know that when Irwin and Edward visit him, they will be returning to you to help you in your business and in your in your home, and he wants you to know that he likes family harmony. And with this, he sends you his love and blessings." So this is the answer. Well, there's nothing in there that he wouldn't like, you see. And Baba just knew his way around my dad's heart. So after some time, and I'm talking of a few years, at first he was sending these very hot letters, but then he calmed down because Baba was not against him. Baba was all for him, actually. So then he calmed down and he began to like Baba, and even would like to do things that Baba would suggest to him that would be good for him. So as the years went by, he had this transformation. in his feelings about Baba. And then he began to want to even serve Baba in his mission. So to enlighten the world, he was suggesting things what Baba should do. But Baba told him that when he breaks his silence, all the things will happen that's necessary. He don't have to concern himself with that. And he accepted all that. Now, my dad was a very one-pointed person. He was what you would call a self-made man. He believed in himself completely, that he could do anything, make a living anywhere. You could drop him off. He would used to tell me, drop me off anywhere in the USA and you'll see I'll make a success of myself. This is how confident he was. You know, he had that incredible confidence. Well, the point is that now so then as the years went by, he got very old. He lived to be 94, actually. And I asked him about a year or so before he passed away if he thought that Mayor Baba was God, you know, because now all this has happened in his life. And he said to me, now I am one of you. This was his final words. Now I am one of you. From not being one of us in the beginning, for sure. You see, now he was saying this. So when he passed away, that was quite a thing too. Baba was very compassionate with my dad. He was in a nursing home. I can't remember if it was the hospital or nursing home. And he was lying in the bed and he was completely disabled. He couldn't do anything. He could practically hardly turn over in the bed. They had to help him turn over or feed him or do anything. Anyhow, as it turned out, this was the day this was just a few days before he was going to die. And there's a man that moves into his room and there's a curtain separating his bed with the other bed. So this man begins talking and talking and talking, and he's talking out loud in Spanish. Now, I don't understand Spanish, but he was talking in Spanish and talking loud, you know. So a friend of the family, Danny Bolette is his name, came to visit my father in the hospital. And he is Spanish, you see, he understands. So he's listening to this guy talk. Well, he says to me, Danny says, you know what he's saying? I said, no, I don't know the answer. Know what he's saying. He's talking to your father. He's talking in Spanish to your father. And he's telling him that he has nothing to concern himself with. When the time comes, he's going to be with the angels. They all love him. And that God himself will be there to welcome him. And he has nothing to fear and nothing to worry. And he's giving him all this confidence while he's in the bed there about to die, you see. And this man is in this other bed and he's talks and talks and nonstop he talks. And he keeps going on about how he's going to be so happy and he's going to be liberated. And now it goes on and on. And Danny is telling me what he's saying, you see. So I don't, because I couldn't understand what he was saying. And then, of course, my dad did pass away then. But my father had a very strong desire to live. I mean, he could be 199 years old and he would still want to live, no matter how now dilapidated the body is. Well, anyhow, because of this, I felt that Baba had sent someone to ease his transition and to very compassionate of Baba to do that, you know, to help him in his transition, to not fear his passing away out of the body. And which reminds me, that Baba always was talking about. I'm not the body. Don't mix me up with the body. I'm not this. Uh, I'm using it so you can see me and we can communicate because you're in the body state. You're not the body either, but that's okay. You'll be able to experience your eternal existence because we're all eternal. We're not, we don't die. Bodies die, but we don't, we inhabit the body. You inhabit it for a while. Bodies are perishable and it only can last for so long. So, but then you have to leave it and then you go into another body if you have more desires for what the world has to offer. But if you don't desire that anymore, then you continue on. You don't have to be in the body then, or take a new body, I should say. All right, so now we know that. So, and how do I know all this? Baba explained it. He's good at explaining things. And if you want to know the answers to a lot of questions that you may wonder about, just hear what he had to say. There's these books and you can read it. And if you want to read the other book, you can read my book. Here, you see my book. See this book? As the Silent Master, Mayor Baba. This book, in its original form, was sent to Baba. And it didn't contain anything that I had to say. There's no narration in it. Only what Baba had said and the things he said. In the table of contents gives you an idea of what the book contains, because these are all Baba's own words. I didn't care for my words. My words don't have the power of his words. So this is what the final account, Mayor Baba's universal message. The messages of Mayor Baba on his silence. Boy, that's something. I compiled all of these things so many of the things I should say about his silence, what he had said. And it's here. And then what he said, who the avatar is. Mayor Baba with the poor and the lepers. Oh, you're going to love this book. If anybody gets it, you'll love it. And the reason you'll love it because you love Mayor Baba. And this here, in very simple terms, is the highlights of his life, of the things he said and did in his own words. When I did the movie Mayor Baba, Avatar of the Age, it's an hour and 20-minute film. We restored it. It took about 7 years to do that movie because it had to be restored and it had to be put together because these were just all film clips that Dr. Deshmukh had made of Baba, including his clips of the Mus. It's a fantastic film because after we got done with it, it was like a miracle that this whole film became like a love story of Baba and how he loved and what he did in his own words. The whole movie is just him speaking, explaining what you're seeing on the screen. There's no narration there. It's his own words. And how does he give his own words in silence? Because he uses his hand gestures at that time, finger movements. And then Erich or whoever was there would translate it and so that people could hear what he was saying. And that is how the movie rolls on. It's his own words throughout the entire film, showing and explaining what he was doing. Now, so I like to stick with Baba's words. Even my talk now, I always ask Baba ahead of time to tell everybody what he wants them to know and feel and understand. So then I'm a mouthpiece, you see, and I feel like he's really telling you all the important things that he wants everybody to understand. And it comes out like that. I don't even know what I'm going to say next. I don't even know what's going to happen next. So I'm like everybody.
Irwin, you
There's no difference between me and others.
You
What?
do have a couple of questions if you'd like to take questions at this
Go
time.
ahead. Go ahead. Ask.
Chantamurthy has been patient waiting. Yeah.
Go ahead. You can speak.
We should be able to hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my
Yes, I hear you also.
yeah. Jai Baba, first of all, everybody, this is
Hey,
my
Baba.
meeting.
Mayor Baba.
And it's very my blessings that I am talking to the live person who live with the God. And the question, let me come to the direct question where I read from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and Meher Baba also said, I was Krishna, I was Rama, I was this, that, and also in Bhagavad Gita, they mentioned like, if the avatar, if anybody claimed to be, I am in the human, God in human form, or I am an avatar, so they have to show the universal form of God. So if they are ready to show, then you can accept anybody who was claimed as God. I have that confidence that Meher Baba is superior than any God in the human form, but he is God himself, I can say. So did you see any kind of like his universal form, what in Bhagavad Gita mentioned?
Well, it's certainly a fair question. And I like fair questions. I had no supernatural experience of Baba except once. And that was before I was even with him in India. When I first came to hear about him, and I went to New York, and I was about to read this book, I was reading the book, Listen Humanity. The librarian, after I read the book, came over to me and said that she had all these magazines called The Awakener, and that if I wanted to look at it. I said, no, I already know what I want to do. I want to go and meet Mayor Baba. But the thing was, she didn't listen to me. She just put the books down on the table, and that was it. Now it's there. So I picked up one of them, and in the last pages, it gave the Baba meetings in different places, and I saw the one that was in New York. So I called up the number, and because I wanted to know where Baba was, so I could go see him. Now, at that time, Ella Winnefeld, she answered the phone, and I asked her where Mayor Baba is, and she says, "Why don't you come to our meeting? We're having one tonight." So I said, "I'm not interested in meeting. I just want to go and meet him. Where is he at, so I can be sure about this?" And she would not tell me. She said, "No, you come to the meeting, and then there we can tell you what you need to know." So I had no choice. Now I go over there, and that day I had a very strange experience in which I was worrying and worrying and worrying. And I'm saying, why am I worrying? I don't even know what I'm worrying about. You got to have a reason to worry. You can't just worry without a reason. But I was worrying without a reason. I couldn't understand that. And it was really quite a pressure. Oh, anyhow, I go to the meeting, and they were having the meetings in their apartment. About 15 or so people would come. And then as soon as I stepped over their threshold into the apartment, this whole pressure, this worry pressure, lifted completely. And in its place was this experience of such intense well-being. I thought, wow, this is really something, such a feeling like this, well, how come there's not more people here? I couldn't understand. If everybody was having that kind of experience, you'd want to be there. So I had this, and as the meeting went on, and all they were doing was just reading his discourse. Somebody was reading the Baba's discourse, but as the meeting progressed, it got more and more intense. This sense and feeling of well-being. it was a super sense of well-being. I can't even describe how that was. But it was it got so much that I thought at some point Baba would actually physically appear. That's how strong it became. Now, he didn't physically appear, but it got that strong. And then after the meeting, they went to a coffee shop to sit and talk. So I went with them, and I was speaking to this woman, Adele, who had been there too. And I said, you know, how come there isn't more people here? The experience is so incredible. And she says, oh, yes, it's a very nice meeting. And at that moment, I realized no one else was experiencing this. That's why it was just an experience that I had, and was the only time that I ever had that. So this was something that was beyond the normal. Now, when I actually was with Baba, it was nothing like that. Baba, it was very loving and very nice and friendly, and he was very kind and very it's like he cared for everything that was going on with me, and he wanted to know everything, and he would ask me these questions and such. But he also was letting everybody know who he is, that he's not just another person like that, that he has the consciousness of being everywhere and everything. So we knew of his divine state, but we also recognized his very human nature of caring for everybody's well-being. It was a perfect balance of both human and divine consciousness, but nothing supernatural. Baba was not showing off. He was not showing his powers and his abilities. He would tell us about the fact that he knew everything. Yeah, he would say things, but not where he was demonstrating anything, except that you could see it, because in the mornings, the letters would come from various people in different parts of the world, and they would write in their own respective languages, and he seemed to understand everything, and it would be read to him, and he would answer them, usually right away. He wouldn't wait. In some cases, he would tell Erich, don't send this letter yet until I tell you. So there was a few times where he would not want the letters to be sent back until he was ready for them to receive it, because Baba worked a lot behind the scenes, which you didn't see, and preparing people so that whatever they were getting, they'd be able to make the best use of. Anyhow, that's my opinion of that. But supernatural experience. Now, I can tell you this. Baba did speak about the time when he was Lord Krishna, and where he gave Arjun the experience of his universal body. And that was what convinced Arjun to fight the battle, because when he realized that Krishna was not just a person that was an advisor to him, but also a chariot rider, would ride the chariots for the king, for Arjun the king. Once he saw the universal body, then he understood this is but that he was the Lord that was with him. But but then Baba said that he really shouldn't have done that, to give him the experience of his universal body. He was doing that to convince him to fight the battle, because once he understood that he was the Lord, then he would do anything. So he said he shouldn't have done that. He should have found other ways of convincing him. But that was he says, in every Advent, I demonstrate one weakness. And that was his weakness that he said in that Advent. What a weakness. This is something that people could never even imagine to be done. And all of a sudden, for him, it's a weakness, Go figure that one out.
No words. really very good answer. I liked it, and so I'm very enlightened now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but you see, in the Hindu faith, so far as I understand, they do look at that as being something that they would like to experience too. All souls want to experience more, what they really are. And so it's a great motivator to not only stick with Lord Krishna, but also to understand and get the advantage of what he was saying. Not just for that, but for everything that he says.
Yeah, generally speaking, I'm not a religious oriented. That's why Brahma brought me here. So, that I'm
But
spiritual.
that was what Baba's answer was to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you can proceed.
You're welcome.
Irwin, we have one more question from
Okay.
Rosemary. Are
Yes.
you
Yeah, I'm listening.
okay? Rosemary, are you there? Let me see if I see your square. Rosemary, maybe she stepped away. Okay, we'll get back to Rosemary, Irwin, and you can. I have just one thing, and it was back to your dad, and I had heard from someone last night. We were talking about you, that your parents went to stay at Villa Villa. They both went to India. Is that right?
Yes, my dad, I was planning a trip to go on a pilgrimage, really, to go to India. Baba had since passed away. And I told him, and my dad did the usual thing that he always does. He says, "Why do you want to go? He's not even there. You're going to go and come back, and they're just the same. You're already here. Why do you have to go?" And then he would announce that God is everywhere. If God is everywhere, why do you got to go there for? So, so I tell him, I said, "Look, Dad, you did express to me that your only regret was that you never met Mayor Baba. After trying to stop me every time from going, you said that that was your one regret, that you never met him. So now you should come with me, because now his disciples, the Mandali, are there. You've had letters and communication with them. You shouldn't miss the point. You shouldn't miss the opportunity of at least meeting them. You see, if you couldn't meet Mayor Obama, at least meet the people that he was with. And this would be something great for you. So you should come with me." So now we're going from him wanting to stop me from going altogether to me telling him that he should come. He actually then said that he would think about it. Well, that was news. He's going to think about this because he was always so opposed to that. Well, now he thinks about it, and then he tells me that he decided that he's going to go. And now that he's decided he's going to go, he's the kind of a guy that will take everybody with him. You see, if he wants to do something, then everybody has to do it. So he takes my mother, and he takes my other brothers, and he takes as many of the family that he could get to go. And and so they go. And now he comes there. But the part that you got to hear is the part about him wanting to get the keys to the cities of Miami Beach, and Dade County, which is a whole bunch of cities in the county, to present to the mayors in India and Bombay and Pune, where we would be going. He wants to get the keys to the city and be the goodwill ambassador from the US to India. You see, he makes this up himself. No one asked him to do this. So he makes this up. And I'm thinking, what is this all about? We're going on a pilgrimage to Mayor Baba, and then he wants to do the keys to the city and give it to the mayors and all of that. And he actually does. He goes there to their offices. And the first office he comes to is the Miami mayor's office. And he tells the secretary that he wants to have a letter giving him the keys to the city to present to the mayor of Bombay, and that he wants to have a letter to explaining what he's doing, and that he's the goodwill ambassador. So this woman says the mayor is out of town. He can't do this. So then my father says, well, you can do it. You can sign it for him. The secretaries always sign for the boss. So, so she writes up this. So he dictates the letter that she has from the mayor. He dictates the letter from the mayor to, about himself coming to as the goodwill ambassador. He actually dictates the thing. So, so my dad, he was not a person without, I should say, he is not short on outrageous things. So so anyhow, she does this. She actually, he dictates the letter, she types it up, and then she says, well, he's not here to sign it. So then I chimed in. I said, oh, brother, he's really doing this. Okay, I'll say a word. So I said, it's okay. Secretaries sign for the boss all the time. You can sign it for him. And she signs it for him and gives it to him along with the keys. You see, there were keys. Now he does the same thing with the city of Miami Beach and the city of and the cities that are in Dade County. He goes to Dade County. Well, now we're there, and we come in, and I had brought with me a huge box, which contained the video, the soundtracks of all the films that we had done over the past 3 years of Baba's disciples and people from all over the world, wherever we went, where we recorded their stories of being with Baba and the things that Baba said and did with them. They were telling it firsthand. So it was all on those tapes that was in this box. There was like 67 reels, 7-inch reels, 4 tracks on a reel. Oh boy, there was a lot there. And with books describing everything that's on those tapes, so you know where to find it. Anyhow, it was wrapped in this heavy duty cardboard, refrigerator cardboard boxes, and it was huge. This was a big box, and this big box gets put on the customs counter, the customs, because everything had to clear the customs. Now we're in India, and the whole family and everybody is there. So the customs man says, what's this? So I said, this is for Mayor Baba Trust, and it's going there for their Mayor Baba's tapes. He says, well, we'll have to open it. We'll have to look at this. I said, you can't open it. It's too difficult to get everything packed back again. He says, no, we got to open it. So then I'm thinking, Baba, now you got to do something. And Baba does something. He puts, first of all, the right thought in your head. So I say to the customs man, I say, do you know who that man is? And I'm pointing to my father, who that man is. And he says, no, I don't know. I say, you don't know that this is the goodwill ambassador from the US coming to deliver to the people and the keys to the city of America for Bombay, the mayors and the officials? You didn't know that? He says, no, nobody told me. I said, you can't create any trouble for him because they would be very unhappy. You could lose your job. You don't want to do that. No, this man, you just let him go through. Just it'll be good, because then they won't say anything. So this is the thought. Good thoughts, right? So he gets disturbed. He says, oh, well, wait a minute. As if we were going somewhere. You know, we're not going anywhere. He says, wait a minute. And he runs over to the head, to the head of the customs department. And this guy is in charge of all the customs agents. And he talks, and they're talking real fast, blah, 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 and then this the head of the customs department, he starts to come over. And he comes over and he's got his head held up high. You can tell who's the boss. And he has a walking stick that he holds behind his back. And he comes over and he's very polite and he says, can I help you? I said, look, all we want to do is just go through, and I want to take my boxes and my baggage with us. We're going to the Mayor Baba Trust, because they knew about Mayor Baba, you see. So he says, well, we'll have to open this, but it's okay. There may not be much duty on it. We will just see what it is. Maybe whatever it is. I said, no, we can't do that. This is not a thing that you can just easily repack. So I said to him, the same thing. I said, this man here, the officials are not going to be happy. You have to understand, and I don't understand why you're even creating any difficulty, because this is the goodwill ambassador. He's coming here from America to give the keys to the cities. And you're going to stop him? What will the mayor say? What will the others say when they find that he was disturbed and he couldn't even come in properly? So he says, the mayor? He says, he's giving it to the mayor? He says, I don't want no trouble. He says, just a minute. And then he calls all the customs agents together, and they have like a huddle, like a football huddle. And they're all huddling together and talking. And then he comes over to me. He says, do you have something to show me so that, we can let you out? So I said, yeah, of course. I can show you the keys to the city too. So I said, Dad, would you please show them the keys? And then he yells over to my mother, who had all the bag, show him the keys. And this is the goodwill ambassador, right? And he's like a tyrant. and he says, show him the keys. So she pulls out these boxes, and I open the box up very gradually, and I show him, see, this is the key to the city of Miami. 3 million people. Click. And he looks up, and then I show him the next box. This is the keys to Miami Beach. Millions of people. Click. And then I show him the one from the Dade County. Now that Dade County has a lot of cities in it. I said, this is for Dade County. This is like 10 to 15 cities, millions and millions of people. Click. And he's giving these keys to them. Oh boy, when he saw that, he says, can you do me a favor? Now he wants me to do him a favor. So I said, what is it? He says, you take that box and you just go out, and you just go and you just go on out like that, and don't say nothing to anyone. Don't say anything about anything. And if you will agree, I would be very happy. Will you do that? I said, yeah, I'll be happy to take it out of here and go on my way. And I won't say anything. So he says, thank you so much. Now I'm doing him a favor. Before I was asking for him to let us out of here. So, all right, now we leave. And we take it to Maribad and we deliver it to the trust. And boy, were they pleased and happy to get that, because that's really something for the archives and for all peoples, for all time to come, to hear these fantastic stories that the people that were with Baba had to tell. It's not enough just to see Baba. I should rephrase that. It's enough to just see him, but then to hear what those that lived with him and those that were lived away from him, and how he worked with them, and what he said and did with them, is all part of the story of the Avatar's life. And And that's what happened, you see. So, so his wanting, his wanting to get the keys actually played a very important part to get all that material over to the trust, the Mayor Baba Trust. So everything works out. You never know what the next thing is, but things seem to have a reason for being, even if you don't understand at the time.
Incredible. Wow.
That's another story about my dad.
Uh, wow. Amazing. Amazing. Now, Rosemary has a question. Now, she is here. She's having a little unmuted. Rosemary, I saw you unmuted for a minute there. Okay. Can you speak so we know if we can hear you? Rosemary? Nope. You got to click it again. Now, can you say something? It's a new computer for her. She's
Oh, there's I see it says Rosemary here.
right. And she's Can you speak up, Rosemary? Can we know if we hear you? No. Do you want to just go ahead and type your question? We can go on and come back, or maybe try one. I think she's gonna do that. Well, while Rosemary, I just wanted to, well, as we get this question from Rosemary, I think she's going to type it. What I want to know, I know that you did this world tour filming, and did it start with when Adi and Merji came on? How did that begin? Where did you get the inspiration to do all this incredible filming that you did?
Well, it sort of came about. When Baba dropped his body, I didn't know what I was going to do because our entire life was centered around him. It was all focused around him. And the idea was to try and earn money to be able to make a trip to go and be with Baba again, and maybe even live with him if he would allow. But Baba didn't want us to live with him. He wanted us to, it's what he told me. He says, go back and tell others what you experienced. This is what he said. And so he wanted us in America, apparently, to be just to share with everybody what happened when we were there. So so we did, and I've been doing that ever since in various ways. So now, let's see, your question was what was that?
What inspired you to do this?
Okay. Yeah, what inspired me to do the filming? Well, we heard that Adi and Merji, for the first time, were going to be coming to the U.S. In 1970, a year after Baba passed away. For the first time, they were going to be telling everyone their experiences of what happened when they were with Baba over the years. And they were coming to the U.S., and they were going to make a tour to different cities talking about what happened, and so everybody could hear this. So we decided that we would go to the airport. I found a camera store, and they had just come out with this film, which was a small, compact film where you had a tape recorder and a camera, and they connected so you could have lip synchronization and you could hear someone talking, like that. So I got it, it wasn't that expensive, and I was able to go, and I got that. And my brother Edward and I, we went to New York to greet them at the airport and, film their whatever they were going to say. So they came in and they started to say really great things about what was happening. Then we both decided that we would continue going around with them and filming everything that they wherever they were, whatever they said, and not only filmed them, but also other people that had met Mayor Baba and that had also stories to tell. So this became a grand tour. And in the end, there was about 10 hours of movie film that we had done, where we had no plan to originally, when we started to do it, to do that, but it evolved like that. Then, because it was so successful and there were so many great stories told, we filmed them in the private quarters, in the hotels, in their meetings, the group meetings that they held, wherever it was. And then we decided that we would go back to India. We would go to India in 1971, which was a year later, and start to film everybody, all of the Mandali that had never told anything to anybody, because during Baba's life, no one was caring what they had to say. They were all focused on Mayor Baba. That's what Baba wanted too. He said, you stick with me now. But then after he dropped his body, now we wanted to hear all the tales of what Baba did and said and did by what these people had to say. So now we were filming them. And that turned into quite a tour also in India and then in Europe. And then we continued doing it for some years afterwards, and went to Australia and went to New Zealand and went all over the world, wherever there were people that could tell about it. And to Iran, we filmed the Prem Ashram boys, that were now men. This was like 40 years later, after they were in the Prem Ashram as children, having all these divine experiences that Baba was giving them, and they could talk about that, you see, and what happened and what they did afterwards and all of that. So that was all filmed too. There was a lot of things done. So now so that's how that came about. You see, it all started because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life now. See? So Baba had already put me on a track. When he dropped his body, I felt like a train on a track. The track had been laid down, and you can only go where the track goes. You're not going to go anywhere else. So I was on his track. That was it. Now you
Wow.
know.
Yeah, thank you. Now, the next question happens to be about filming too. And this is Rosemary, who just wanted finally to write her question. She says, "Hi, Irwin. It's Rosie from the Pacific Northwest. Nice to hear you speak." So she must know you. And her question is, can you elaborate on your experience making the film Avatar of the Age? What was it like having to work on such a huge project? How did you manage working with different people? Where did the inspiration come from?
Well, I'll tell you this. Dr. Deshmukh gave us the films that he had, which is where that movie came from. This film was about a half an hour, but it was in pieces, and he would show it to his group. But in the showing it to his group, it was damaged a lot. The sprockets were being chewed up, and it was in pretty poor shape when we got it. And it was not at all like what you see now, because it was just little clips of Baba at various times. And it was many times a little hard to make out, but it was still a Baba film, something that he could show. We went and redid the whole thing. So what happened was, first I had to fix all the to restore the physical properties of the film, so it could even go through a projection unit, and be duplicated. We had to copy all of that, and then we had to do the special optical work. I had to get a whole laboratory set up for a film for the films. And get the engineers to build the kind of optical printer that we needed to copy everything and to do all the special effects and optical work. You see, the whole point was we wanted to bring everything out that Baba had done and said, so people could actually see it and do it in a way that was a love story. That was because all of Baba's life was a love story. So now we had to present it like that. And I'll give you one example. There was a scene where Baba's shooting marbles. That scene was 10 frames long. Now, when a film goes through a projection unit, it's going at 24 frames a second. And this was only 10 frames long. Now, this was a rare piece of footage, just the same, of him shooting marble, even if it was very short like that. We turned that 10 frames into, which was like less than half a second long as far as time goes, into something that was 45 seconds. To take something in full and make it and do it in full motion for 45 seconds, it's not for freezing. It's not like freezing the frame for 45 seconds. No, it had to be in full motion. This is a movie. And during that point, we were able to put in the words that Baba was saying, that he shoots marbles with the universe. And that whole thing that he pointed out about shooting marbles was now able to be put in the film because the length of time was long enough to say that with the music and with the words of the music and all of the things that we had to add to it. It was a miracle that this movie ever was made in the first place. And then the scenes of Baba with the mus and how they were in such bliss, and you could see the bliss in their faces as he's moving his head back and forth. And Baba is telling about what the experience of that must is. This was never in the original. The original was silent. There was no soundtrack to it. There was nothing. It was just a half an hour. This movie, in the end, turned out to be 1 hour and 20 minutes long. There was the original. Yeah, but the original footage was about a half an hour.
Okay, but where did you get it from? One of
Dr. Deshmukh. Yeah, Judy is asking me about it also. So, it took about 7 years to do that movie, and turn it into the film that you see today. If Deshmukh, it was just too bad that Deshmukh had passed away, because he would have loved to have seen this, what happened to his film after all this time. I mean, he would have hardly been able to believe it. Even us who worked on it, it was hard to believe after you saw the whole thing, with all the songs and the music and the words were selected, the passages of what was occurring on the screen, and then Baba's own words was being integrated into that, of what he was, what you were looking at. So that's an amazing movie. For whoever looks at it, believe me, you're going to really see an amazing movie.
I remember when it premiered. You had people, all the different Baba groups, show it in their local regular theaters. We had a big deal premiere, Avatar of the Age, in our Palo Alto Baba group. It was a big deal. It was.
Well, it was, because it was shown in many theaters in the U.S. and in some other countries as well. And then it became available on DVDs, which is still available. Anybody that would like it and would want to see it, if they get in touch with me, they could just send me an email, and I could arrange for them to get a video of it, the DVD. Yeah.
We have a couple more questions. Diana?
Okay.
Oh, is that okay, Irwin? Are we ready for questions? Yeah, okay. I think. Diana, go ahead.
Yeah, Irwin, I just love the work that you've done in film, and I've watched several of those wonderful recordings with the people who had met Baba. I'm wondering how you found out who all those people were who had met Baba and how to find them, because you have there's such a variety there are people we've never read about in stories, and there you have them filmed. How did you know who they were?
When we went to the different cities, we would check with the Baba group as to who was in the group and, you know, what people they knew. And then we would contact them. So it was usually done through the, if we didn't already know, then we would contact others, and then one would tell us about the other one, and that's the way it went. And usually the Baba groups were very happy to assist in this here. Even when I was traveling, everybody that joined me to assist with the film work, they all paid their own way. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money for this. No, and we would live with the people that we were filming. So we would, if we were filming somebody, we would stay with them, and then we would film them and then go to the next person, whoever that was. And so it was able to be done in an affordable manner, and even one of the interesting things is that getting through customs with all the equipment that we had was where Baba was just opening doors for us. I'll give you an example. When we had to go to Pakistan, they didn't, in those days, they weren't allowing anybody through with any films. That was out. You could not take films into the Pakistan, and you know, or film equipment or anything of the sort. So we would get to the customs agent, a counter, and he would tell us, "Oh, we can't take the equipment in or not." So I said, so he says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, we want to film some people, and you know, this is for the spiritual purpose." So he says, "No, no, 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 no. The custom man is saying this." He says, "No, no, we don't allow it. It's against the rules now. We can't do that." So I said to Baba, now I talk to Baba. You see, you got to talk to the boss, the guy who's running the show. So I said, "Baba, if you want us to do this, you're going to have to do something, because they're not allowing us." What happens? There's a guy, he comes over, this man, he comes over like he's Mr. Authority himself. He comes over and he says, "What's going on?" And the customs man says, "Well, they're trying to bring all this equipment. We don't allow it. And I'm telling him that he can't bring it in. And he keeps talking that he wants to do it." So he says, so the guy looks at us and he says, "What do you got there?" And I said, "Well, we have some cameras and we have a few things. We're going to film some of your people telling their stories about Baba, Mayor Baba." He says, "There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, let him through." He says, so the guy says, "How can I let him through?" He says, "Are you questioning me?" This is the way he talks. "Are you questioning me?" "Oh, no, no, I'm not questioning you." He says, "Go on, go on." So we go through, you see, just like that. It was like an agent of Baba had just showed up to get us through there. Well, anyhow, we go through, and Minu Karas was one of the people that we were going to visit and film him, because he had been a must hunter for Baba, and would find these musts. So he's waiting there in the wings, and he's seeing this whole thing transpire. And we come through, and he says, "I can't believe it. They never allow anybody, and you're walking through." He says, "I don't know. I can't believe that this is happening." I said, "Well, you can believe it, because this is this is what Baba wants. You know, we're going to have to, this is for a lot of people later. So we're going to go through." And we went through. Then he tells us that there's a must that sits at the gate. He's a 6-plane must that sits at the gate of his house. His house has a gate around it. And he's always sitting there. He's on the 6th plane. And he says, "I know that because I brought him to Baba. And now he sits there, you know, and Baba said he was of the 6th plane. So he's got a 6-plane must sitting at the gate." You talk about fantastic things. Who knew? You know, we were going from one fantastic thing to another. You see, that was our journey. If anyone ever saw the movie The Blues Brothers, and one of the things that they tell the nun that they're on a mission from God. Well, that was a fictional story. We were on a real mission from God. we had the real McCoy, as far as I could tell. Anyhow, so that is about the movie. And it's not only about the movie, it was about more than the movie.
Well, those movies are so precious. Wow. It's wonderful, wonderful to have that resource. Okay, we got a couple. Ron Greenstein?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if Irwin might have remembered in 1979, I was staying at Jack Small's house on my pilgrimage in early 79. And Irwin came over to the house and showed the original raw footage that Deshmukh had taken. And I must say that my response to it was, what are we looking at here? This is, why is anybody even showing this thing? You couldn't hardly see anything. And it was, and what I realized is, I mean, there are certain things that I have a talent for, but one thing that I know I do not have a talent for is seeing something that is in shambles and visualizing how you could make it into something that would be wonderful. That's never been my thing. I was just ready to say, why don't we just toss it? But then when I heard they were going to do something with it, I was like fascinated. And of course, at the with the end result, I was quite pleased. But that happens to me all the time. I think nobody could do anything to help this thing out. Of course, 7 years of expertise and inspiration, that did it. That was a great effort and great outcome. So
Well,
thanks a lot, Irwin, for that.
Well, I will say this. When I first got that footage, I went to a place that they had what they call, it was a machine, it's a Hazeltine, as it was called, and it could show you on a screen the footage, whatever you put through it, and you could just you just scroll through it frame by frame. It wasn't like you needed to see it in full motion. You could see it frame by frame. And when I was looking at that, I just knew. I saw so many possibilities with this film that it would be just such a great film, but it would take a lot of work to do it. And I had no qualms about it. I never did it before. I had one woman, B. Muller. She was a woman that was quite educated, and she said to me, did you ever have any experience in any working for any studio or film project? Because at that time I was asking people to donate money so that I can get the film duplicated. So I said, no, I don't have any experience with that. So she said, did you ever study it at least, in school or anything as to what to do? I said, no, I hadn't done that either. And then she says, well, how are you going to possibly do a movie and you have no experience, whatever? I said, because I have a vision. And the vision, in this vision of what I want to accomplish, I will find out everything that I need to know, and I will do it. And you'll see it someday, She said, when? I said, in 6 months. Because in my mind, I never could imagine working on anything more than 6 months. So when anyone asked me when it will be finished, I would say in 6 months. And it took years. It took about 6 or 7 years to complete this, to do this here, because there was so much to do in it. And every time they asked me, in 6 months it would be done. Now, finally, when it came out, it was a surprise because no one expected anymore. You can only say 6 months so many times before people give up on you. And they say, will it ever come out? So, but then when it did, oh boy, it was a great surprise and a most beautiful one at that. And everyone loved it, because this is a remarkable movie. Of all the films of Baba, this one really presents so much of the heart quality as well as the understandings that Baba wanted everybody to have.
Who was the narrator?
That was
Henry?
Henry Kishauti.
Thought it was, yeah.
Yeah. Henry Kishauti would often give talks because he met Baba and he would give talks about it. But he had a very powerful voice and a very powerful way of presenting things. But for the movie, he's now going to have to be Baba's voice. And Baba actually was silent, But so I needed a voice that was smooth and calm and where it fit for the kind of film that it is. And I said to Henry, Henry, I like you very much because you have such a deep understanding of Mayor Baba, which has to be presented in the words that you're going to say in the film. But your voice is very strong. So what you need to do is talk just above a whisper, and then electronically we will be able to raise it to what level we need. And he did just that, and it came out the way you hear it, really beautifully. It was perfect for Baba's voice.
Okay, we got a couple more hands. Alan?
Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
Good to see you, Irwin.
Oh, see you.
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful talk here. Thank you for sharing. I'm curious if you remember, there was a video I watched not too long ago of your brother and Padre with Muhammad the Must. And
Yes.
Yeah, and I was really, what I want to ask you is if you could tell me if you remember anything about that day or that moment, because I saw your brother getting in really close contact with Muhammad, patting him on the head, and I could feel in my sense, I was like, oh geez, please don't do that. And then at one point I was expecting Padre to be like, hey, but he was really gentle. He was like, and we mustn't get too close to them like that. Like it was like a kind of a slow, easy correction that he did with your brother. Do you remember anything about that day?
Well, I also felt the same way, not to be not to just to have a certain respect for his state of consciousness and what he is. Mohammed didn't seem to object, but at the same time, it was right, what Padre was saying. And my brother was always very animated. He broke through barriers. You see, this is like a barrier you wouldn't want to do because you're conditioned not to do that. But he didn't have that he just did what he did. And it was his way of expressing his affection for Muhammad. You see, that's basically what it was. And it was a very good video, aside from what we may think that he overstepped his bounds. But the video is good because Padre explained a lot of things about Muhammad. Muhammad was in another conscious state. He was on the fifth plane. Baba had pushed him to that plane. And he was very good like that, It was a very good video of Muhammad and who he is and what it is with him. And that was just one of the videos. There were a number of videos that were taken with Muhammad in it. And there were other videos with other musts when Baba was on tour. But that was not taken by me. That was taken by Deshmukh at the time and was put into the movie that we were talking about. But yeah, a lot of people were having their own expressions and of what occurred. And Padre, he was quite a guy, you know. All of Baba's mandali were real characters, yeah, every one of them. So Baba collected a bunch of characters, you know, and they all worshipped him. They all loved him. Yeah, see, every character that he collected, these were like the 12 archetypes, his 12 disciples.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. We love that video. It's best.
Yeah, I actually really appreciate that video. I learned a lot.
So personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get more personal than patting someone on their head.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Personal.
Thanks, Irwin.
Matt has a question.
Matt.
Not so much a question. Hey, Irwin. Hey, Judy. How are you both?
Hey there, Matt.
Good to see you today, as always. I just wanted to more or less make a comment that, you know, in the last year, getting to know Baba and obviously reading a lot about his words through your books, Irwin, and reciting those to my dad, who has never believed in God, to my knowledge, never, you know, went to church willingly. And as we grew apart in different states, if you will, you know, my mom was always the one still going, and him not. But you know, in the last, I send him his circular every week from you, as you know. So we've had some good correspondences from that. But I just have to say that I think, you know, thanks to Baba and thanks to your love for him and how much you share in the circulars, I've never heard my dad so happy and share so openly the way he has. Yeah, just his feeling that you have for God, that I feel like he's really wanting now. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
So he's understanding things about, so he's becoming more liking the idea of Mayor Baba as God, because Baba explains things so easily, you know, so nicely. And he hears it in my circulars. Is that
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, very much. He says you make it very, very easy to understand, but he can also just feel the deep love that you have for Baba.
Well, it has a lot to do with Baba's love for us. You know, he said it's like the sun shining on the moon. You see the sunlight from the moon, but it's really the moon, the sun reflecting its light off the moon, you see, that you're looking at. So you see a moon. But in a way, that's what happens. Baba's love gets shined on us, and then we shine it back, you see. We shine it back to him and to others. It's the same thing going on.
Thank you, Irwin.
You're welcome.
I wasn't aware of your circulars. There might be others. Is there a way to get on your list that you could tell us? I could put it in the chat.
Yes. All I need is your email address, and then you'll get it on your email.
So send it to your email, which I do have.
Yeah,
Okay.
just send it to my email and say that you would like to be on the list to receive the circulars, so I know what it is, and you'll be put on the list.
Okay, I'll put Irwin's email in our chat in a minute. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, there's as a matter of fact, there was an email that was sent out a little while ago, last week, not this week's, but last week. And I think that this is something that I'd like to read to everybody, because it applies so much to what's going on, not only in the world, but what Baba wants. So let me see if I can just find that, and I can read that to you, if I can get it. Okay. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have to make sure, because I have to get this and look at it. Okay. All right. The email is titled, Who is running the show? Who is running the show? Okay, here goes. Guess what? It's all about the mind. Whoever runs the mind will run the show. Great leaders, good and bad, have come and gone. Napoleon, Genghis Khan, and Alexander the Great, as he was called, who it is said was the only one who have conquered the entire known world. Let's not forget the greatest rascal of them all, our arch villain, Adolf Hitler. When it came to murder, pain, and torture, he beat them all. But still, there are some heavyweights in our history books who were good runner-ups in their time. They were not short on lust, greed, anger, fear, revenge, and other pain-making qualities. It seems no age is without the horror guys, or even the good guys. Our own age is no exception. So along comes the Avatar. You think the all-seeing one doesn't see this? What is he going to do about it? He won't destroy it. He never has. He will use it like he always has. So he tells us things from the God state of consciousness that he is in as to why things are the way they are and what his mission is to relieve mankind from the predicaments we find ourselves in. First, he says, you are not the body you identify yourself with. First, he says, you are not the body you identify yourself with. You are inhabiting a very perishable instrument you call the body. Death does not exist because you are eternal. Bodies die, but not you. You are not the mind either, which contains all the thoughts and feelings that you ever had or will ever have. So what are you? Why can't you see yourself that is behind the mind and the body? Now, if you ever asked this and did not get a satisfactory answer, then you've come to the right place. This is where the Avatar comes in. He tells us it is time for us to move on. He knows how to do it, to take us from where we are to where we should be. So where is that? If you listen to him, he explained, your true state of experience is the God state of consciousness latent in yourself. This is the goal of life, to experience the fullness of what you are. And what is that, I may ask? So he tells us, you are infinite bliss, the source of all happinesses, unlimited knowledge of everything, the absolute power behind all energies, and the divine music of your being that harmonizes all life. There is much more, but this is enough for now. Obviously, you do not experience this. So you go to someone who does to help you get there. Oh, yes. So I don't forget to tell you, he also explained, there is only one self in existence that is behind the minds and bodies of all beings. I bet no one told you that before. The universe, with all its galaxies containing innumerable suns and planets, black holes, and all other kinds of matter and energies, including space itself, is all a fabrication and imagination in the mind. This is what he sees it being in the God state of consciousness he enjoys. Now his mission is to bring us up to it. So what about the news on the TV? How does that fit into all of this? It fits all right, but now that you know why you have, but now that you know why you are here and what you have to do about it, you won't be scared of what your TV says. According to Avatar Mayor Baba, the one self that is behind the minds of everyone and which he is one with, run this one, I'll say that again. According to Avatar Mayor Baba, the one self that is behind the minds of everyone and which he is one with runs the show that you see with your senses. He holds the strings to everyone's mind. That is why he says no one is to blame. He has one purpose, which has nothing to do with the politics of the day. That is to make you see just how great and divine you are. Like he said, even if the worst scoundrel stood before me, I could make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. In his loving service, Irwin Luck. That was the circular that went on last week.
Wow, thank you. I'm gonna join up.
Okay. You're welcome.
You had a nice, Hassan had to leave and he says, "It is always a great pleasure to listen to Irwin's stories. Thank you so much, dear Irwin."
Very nice. Thank you.
Any other questions, folks?
What is the name again of the circular that is going out? And is it Bubba's words or these are your insights?
My insights. But it's all based on Baba's words because I don't know nothing. You see, that's the beauty of the whole thing. If you ask me anything, I don't know the answer. But if I quote Mayor Baba, the answers are all there. And that's what he does. So what I'm really revealing or saying is what he gave me to understand. And he's explained it to everybody, but this is the way I understand it. And this is what he said.
And so is there a name that you gave to the circular or is there a name of it?
It's the, there isn't any special name. I did write a book, which are the circulars. It's called Irwin and the Avatar Circulars, and it contains so many of the circulars that were sent out. So whoever gets the book will read that. But that's the only name that I ever put to anything, Irwin and the Avatar Circulars, which is the book that contains these circulars.
I
Yeah.
really,
I was just trying to figure out how to ask for the circular, but I didn't know the title. I'm sorry.
It's just
That's
an
okay.
email, Elizabeth. It's just an email.
Just say that you would like to get the circulars each week, and I'll know exactly what you want.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for you, if you don't mind. What did Baba say about dreams? Like, I'm curious about lucid dreaming, and how do you know if you've had a lucid dream or not?
Well, this is a good question because Baba did answer that directly. And what Baba did say, I have not come to create more dreams for you, but to wake you up from all dreaming. Because all dreams, now I'm just adding this from what other things he said, all dreams are just creations of the mind in which you see the thoughts and feelings that the mind shows you. But you are the reality. The dreamer is the real thing, not the dream. So he's out to give you the real thing, where you have to see the source of everything that it's coming from, and not just to be swayed by illusions that the mind creates. So that was Baba's answer to that, to dreaming. Dreams are not real. You are.
But is there a purpose to them?
Well, there's the only purpose that you have in life is to wake up from the dreams. And you can't wake up by having a dream of waking up. You have to have the real thing happen to you. And when Baba said that he came as the awakener, he didn't come to teach. His teachings are the greatest, but that's not what he came for. He came to actually do it, to wake you up from all dreaming. And the only way that's going to happen is that even though you're in the illusion, you can stick to him as you see him. And at that point, he works to awaken you by removing all the obstacles that stand in the way of your experiencing your true nature, your true self, which is infinite.
Thank you very much, Irwin. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
McCall, question. McCall?
I know it's not a question, it's just to say that I really love your talks and also your writings and all you do, because you're very pragmatic and practical, and that you always enjoy it so much. You always have this joy and humor when you talk about it. So I really am enjoying all these. Of course, I've seen many of your original videos from 71, which were wonderful. Thank you for that treasure, and for that work. But also thank you for what you're doing constantly, because you are sharing, keep on sharing. So it's beautiful and it's fun and it's practical. It's not in the air, and you really believe it. You're convincing, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's always good to hear feedback of how people feel about what I say and think about it. It gives me a better understanding of what everyone is, how they're receiving it. People didn't like it, I would stop. But they seem to like it, so I keep going.
And you enjoy and you laugh, and it makes us laugh too. The heart opens up and it's wonderful. Thank you. And you're very practical. So it's not like in the air of spiritualism or anything like that. It's just Baba right there. And so thank you.
Baba also had a great sense of humor. He liked jokes. He liked laughing. He liked everything that human beings like. And even when someone said to him, "Are you human?" because they hear of all of the divine aspects of his being, Baba said, "I'm more human than you." Well, why wouldn't he be if he makes humans along with everything else? So naturally, he knows all about the human state that we are in, and what he has to do to bring us up to his level.
Thank you, darling. Jai Baba.
I have to
listen to me for this. He's a great friend. You couldn't have a better one. Whether you believed in his divinity or not, he is the most friendly person, and you would just love to meet him. And the time will come when you aspire for that you will meet him. That's the way it works. You always get what you love. That's the law of the universe.
I feel that we are right now. We don't have to have a body for him in order to meet him. He is here with us.
That's right. Well, he can't help it. He has to be here with us. He doesn't know how to do it any other way.
How lucky we are.
This whole thing is a two-way street. It's you and the avatar, and
Yeah.
he comes for you and you come for him. You may not know it at first, but that's what you do. And Baba, when he talked about why science has advanced so much in this particular age, he said it's because there's all these worlds which are very advanced scientifically, and they're incarnating here to get the avataric push. They need to get the push, and they have to come here for that. So they bring with them all the science that they are thinking of and what they do. So the world gets a big push scientifically.
Thank you.
No, that's interesting. We have a very interesting question from Rosemary. It's kind of in that vein of why people are incarnate here. Rosemary asks, why does it happen that certain percentage of people come back with different sexual orientations? I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Irwin, but
Why
from
they
Baba? With
why they come back with what? Sexual
different sexual orientations. I maybe she's maybe
Oh,
trans.
I see. I see. It has to do with past lives. When a person, let's say they've had a series of lives as a woman or as a man, either way, and then they suddenly come in the body of of the opposite sex than what they were previously, they then have the inclinations that if they were as a man loving woman, and now they're a woman, they're going to still have the inclination to love a woman. So you have that, it's all has to do with past experience and past lives. It's the same thing for when a person has a particular talents. They can have a talent for music or for art, and it's because they've also been doing it previously in past lives, and they've gotten good at it. And then maybe in this life, they really emerge as someone that has the capability of a lot of the efforts that they had previously put in, and they become a fantastic artist in some way. So but nothing happens out of nothing. You have to have, you have worked on things. It will manifest itself better. And so it works on like that on that level also for talents.
Thank you, Irwin.
This is Baba's explanation to us as to why there's various sexual orientations, or there could be talented people, and nothing goes into nothing. You always are the end result of everything you've ever been.
Well, have we exhausted you? Let me give you a couple of nice compliments. Pam Rubenstein says, thank you, Irwin, for this enlightening talk. It's always a pleasure to be with you and hear your stories. I'm reading these to you. I just want to make sure you get them. You get these nice sentiments. And Telly says, thank you, Irwin. Your faith in Baba is inspiring and reassuring, which is nice. Yeah.
Well, it's our faith in Baba. Baba gives us that faith. He has faith in us, and he comes to us, with all the faith that he has, and then we feel it, and then we have faith in him. That's the way he put it. See, I don't know nothing. I didn't say that. This is this is the way he puts it. But I've come to realize it and understand it. So there you have that. You always got to remember who's running the show, you see. Once you got that down, then you don't worry about nothing.
Alan says, quick question. What was the last thing Baba said to you in person? In person.
In person? Well, what's the last thing he said to me in person? In 1962, well, the last time I saw Baba was in 1962, where I saw him in person at the East-West Gathering. And if I remember right, sometimes I get things a little mixed up as to the timeline. But if I remember right, Baba, we were leaving the hall. We were leaving Guru Prasad Hall, my brother Edward and I, and we were the last ones to leave because we were never in a hurry to leave Baba. And he was sitting on his couch, and Erich was next to him. There was no one else there. And then Baba, I think he just sort of clapped his hand, or he snapped his fingers. And we turned around and looked at Baba, and then he gestured, and he showed that one day I will give you the highest experience, he said. And then he used his hand to go up above his head 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 levels. And then he repeated that. He said, one day I will give you the highest experience. He said that to me and my brother. And then the motion dismissed and we left, so that was, I think, the last time. If I have it right, and if it wasn't the last time, so what? It was a good time.
Oh, wow. This has been great, Irwin.
Well, when that happens, so when that happens, once Baba did tell me, this was at an earlier time, that because I was so intent that he should show me God. And then finally I asked him, when are you going to do this? And he said, in 6 months. So in 6 months, I'm just, so in 6 months, it's going to happen. Whenever 6 months is up, it'll happen. You see, because his timeline is not the same as ours. So in 6 months, it's going to be, and because I wanted him to do it now, you see, now. So in 6 months, when it happens, it'll be now. So I'll get what I wanted. I wanted it now. And then in 6 months, whenever that is, however long it takes, it'll still be just the perfect time, because everything is timing. Everything happens at the time when your sanskaras run out, or he runs it out for you, then you can experience what he does, what he experiences.
Well, that's what you were telling everybody about your movie, Irwin. It's going to be done in 6 months, right? The Avatar.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned it, I never thought about it, but the good old 6 months is there. Because I can't imagine it being longer than 6 months. And Baba couldn't imagine me imagining it to be longer either. So 6 months it was. And is. There it is.
From Elizabeth, she says, Mara wrote to her exactly, take Baba as your friend. He is the best one you will ever have. This is from Mara to Elizabeth. And then she says, I agree with all the kudos. Thanks, Irwin. Very insightful. We have all appreciated this. This has been, wow, wonderful.
Well,
I think
I don't know if my time is up.
Are you tired? We don't want to wear you out.
Whatever you say.
Rosemary says, thank you, Irwin. Your sense of humor never fails. Baba is working through you. I still think you are down to 6 months for sure to get God realization.
That's it. In 6 months. But I wanted it now, you see, at the time. So in 6 months, when it happens, then it's now. Judy, there's someone at the door. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Very happy to be able to meet everybody and see everybody best I could on this Zoom, and to be able to talk with you all. I think it's a marvelous invention to have Zoom. That this could be where people can interact without having to actually be physically in the same place.
Totally. I agree. All right. We're going to say, folks, if you'll join me 3 times, Avatar, Meher Baba.
Ki Jai.
Meher Baba, Meher Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Jai Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Oh, this is
Thank you, Irwin. Thank you, Betty.
The homespun philosopher. You got the avatar at your back.
Let me say, once you get on Irwin's email list, you'll never want to get off of it. The best thing in my inbox every week.
There's another one coming out tomorrow.
Good. Okay. You'll have a few more.
Once a week.
Keep them coming, Irwin.
This has been great.
All right, I will.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, if I close it, we all go away.
Jai Baba, Mayor
Oh,
Baba.
Hey,
my
Hey,
Thank you
Bob.
so
Bye,
much.
Betty. Thank you.
Jay
Fun.
Baba. Thank you, everyone.
A lot of fun.
Hey, Baba.
Obviously, he's got more stories, so maybe we'll grab you again, Irwin.
We can do it
Okay.
again. When do we get to do it again?
Yeah,
Well, whenever you say.
speak with the boss. Let's see what Angela says.
Okay.
Awesome. So great.
Awesome.
Jai
Okay,
Baba, Mayor Baba, everybody.
Jay Baba.
hey, Baba.
Baba J Baba.